People may forgive your bad opening, but they will not forgive your bad close. Your close matters. Last words linger longer than every other thing you've said. People may even forget everything you've said, but they will not forget those last words that you've said. So be particular about your close, about your exit, just as much as you are particular about your entry. Now, technically, we call closing public speaking recency. When we don't use the word conclusion. Now you hear people say, oh, what's your concluding thought, or what's your conclusion? The term conclusion is a speech writing or a proposal term, and not a public speaking or sales term. So in public speaking, you will often hear us use the word close. You often hear us use the word close, and not conclusion. So recency is a technical term for your close. You must be particular about it. Just as the comedian should leave the audience laughing, the public speaker should leave the audience thinking. That should be your ultimate plan as you close your presentation. So I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips on how you can close your presentation. Recap. Summarize what you have said at the end of your presentation so that people can actually get a review or preview or review of whatever it is that you said. You need to really recap all that you have said or summarize it. And that's why I often will tell people to use what I call the PREP formula. PREP. The PREP helps you to transition even to your close. P stands for point of view, R stands for reason for point of view, E stands for example, and then P stands for point of view restated. So let me just tell you how it works. It's a very simple strategy in speaking, especially in your body and even onto your close. You make your first point, you give a reason for that point, you give an example, and then you restate the point again. PREP. So first point, give a major point. Don't give a point without giving a reason for that point. Give an example and then end with that point again. So your point can be books are powerful. Oh, books are powerful? So you give the reason. The reason I'm saying books are powerful is because you can use a statistics or a quotation to buttress the reason you're saying that books are powerful. An example can be a story or an illustration buttressing that fact, and then you restate your point. Once you've done that, you move to your second point. So point of view, reason for point of view 1, example of point of view 1, point of view restated. Move to point of view 2, reason for point of view 2, example of point of view 2, point of view 2 restated, and on till you get to your close. Now when you get to your close, you recap. You literally will capture all the points I've mentioned in a summary and tell the audience. That enables them to capture it at the back of your mind. So one way to close your presentation is to recap. Another way to close the presentation is what we call the quotation close. Now the quotation close is, as it's mentioned, as the name implies, closing with a very powerful thought-provoking quotation. So start with a quotation that gets them, that totally encapsulates everything that you've been saying, and that will take you work. So think about your close. Some people suggest that you should think about your close before you think about your title, and I think I agree with them, because your close is supposed to be your call to action. Your close is supposed to win the audience. Another way to close your presentation is to close with an icebreaker. Now if you listened up when we talked about the opening, we said that the opening can be you can begin your presentation with an icebreaker, and an icebreaker are a set of activities that you do to engage the audience. So let me give you an example. If you told the audience to stand up, to look at themselves, and then say some fancy words to themselves, maybe you told the audience to look at your neighbor eyeball to eyeball, tell your neighbor you are more than this at the beginning of the presentation, you can do the same thing at the end of the presentation. I do that a lot. So look at the neighbor eyeball to eyeball, tell them you are more than this, you're better than this. That's at the beginning, and then I give my speech. At the end of the presentation, I can tell them, well, thank you guys, I want you to stand up again, oblige me, and then look at your neighbor eyeball to eyeball. Now with some understanding, everyone heard me, tell your neighbor you are more than this. And the neighbor says, I don't think your neighbor heard you. Tell neighbor you are more than this. As they have that conversation, tell them to walk around and talk to as many persons, 2 or 3 persons, telling them that statement, you are more than this. Now as they move around to tell themselves that simple statement, you exit the stage. So an icebreaker of that nature can be used to close our presentation. When we use icebreakers in closing, we call it the demonstration close. You can demonstrate that you're about to close, like closing your Bible, closing your iPad, saying thank you in your slide. That shows that you're closing your presentation. It is very, very effective. I used one particular style done by Jim Rohn, and it's so interesting. Now he's gathered with people and he's about to close. He often would tell them, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you here have taken down a lot of notes? And people raise up their hands, and he'll go ahead to tell them, can you show me those notes? And then they'll show him the notes that he have done. He said, you have written me. Your words I speak are me, and they are right now in your notes. So when this place is closed and the lights are shut and you go back home, remember that I go with you. Thank you very much. And that's a very powerful way to also close using the demonstration close. Another way to close your presentation is a title close. If your title is a very striking title, you can, at the end of your presentation, end with the title. Another way to close your presentation is called the circular close. The circular close is used when you tell a story and not finish the story, get into the presentation, and at the end of the presentation, you close with that story. So there are many ways to close your presentation. The best one that you would use if you are a salesperson or someone who is a presenter who wants to get people to buy in to do something, we call it the challenge close. Now the challenge close is designed to get them to take action. When you tell them, let's do this, let's go here, let's do this now. When you tell them to do that, you have just done a challenge close. So your close is quite important. In fact, your exit strategy is more important than your entry.